Okay, so today we're going deep on something that might not sound super exciting right off the bat, but trust me on this one.
Okay.
This is all about report rationales. And we're going to see why this is actually low-key one of the most important things you can master.
I like that low-key.
No matter what you're working on, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've gotten a lot of questions from listeners about this. Specifically, how to write a good rationale.
Yeah, that's a big one.
So let's just jump right in. What even is a rationale?
So a rationale, it's basically like the foundation of your whole report.
Okay.
It's the why behind the what.
So not just what you're doing, but like why you're doing it.
Exactly. Like, imagine you're trying to convince your boss to let you start a new project. You wouldn't just like describe the project. You'd explain like, hey, this is why we need to do this.
Right.
Like maybe there's a problem we need to solve, or there's like a gap in what we're doing right now.
So it's kind of like making the case for your work.
Exactly. And a really good rationale, it doesn't just explain, it persuades.
Okay.
Like it makes the reader actually care about the report and want to keep reading.
So without a good rationale, people might not even bother with your report.
Pretty much, yeah. It could just end up sitting there gathering dust.
And all that hard work would be for nothing.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm convinced I need to get better at this.
Yeah.
So where do we start? How do we write a killer rationale?
Okay, so step one is you got to clearly define the problem. Like, what issue are you trying to address with this report?
So give some context.
Yeah, exactly. Like, let's say you're writing about, I don't know, online privacy.
Okay.
You could start by talking about all the data breaches that have been happening lately.
Right. All over the news.
Yeah, and how that's putting people's information at risk.
So paint a picture of what's going on.
And then once you've laid out the problem, you got to explain why it's actually a big deal.
Okay.
Like, why should the reader care about this?
So what if we don't fix this?
Exactly. Like, what are the consequences?
Okay. I'm seeing the pattern here.
Yeah.
So first we set the stage, then we show why it matters. What's next?
Okay, so next you have to explain what you're going to do about it.
Okay.
Like, what's the purpose of this report? What are you hoping to achieve?
So like, what are we going to learn from this?
Yeah, and how is that going to help us solve the problem we talked about earlier?
Okay, so we're kind of like laying out a roadmap for the reader.
Exactly.
Okay, before we move on, are there any like common mistakes people make when writing rationales?
Oh yeah, definitely. One big one is being too vague.
Okay.
Like, you need to be super specific and show that you really understand the issue.
So don't just say like cybersecurity is important.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you got to go deeper than that.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've got the problem, the significance, the purpose. What else do we need?
Okay, last but not least, you got to talk about the scope.
The scope.
Yeah, basically, what are you going to cover in this report and what are you not going to cover?
Okay, so kind of setting boundaries.
Exactly. Like, imagine you're writing about climate change.
Huge topic.
Yeah, way too big for one report. So you might focus on, like, the impact of climate change on a specific region.
Okay, so it's like zooming in on one specific aspect.
That way your research stays focused and you don't get overwhelmed.
Right, so we're being strategic about what we include.
Exactly.
Wow, this is making me rethink how I approach writing altogether.
I know, right? It's like a whole new way of thinking about your work.
So to sum up, a rationale is like the backbone of any good report.
Absolutely.
It explains the what, the why, and the how.
And it convinces the reader that this report is worth their time.
This has been super insightful. Thanks for breaking all that down for us.
No problem. Happy to help.
Now, before we wrap up, any final thoughts for our listeners out there?
Yeah, next time you're reading a report, take a minute to really look at the rationale.
Okay.
Like, does it actually make sense? Does it convince you that this research is important?
So we can use this to be better readers too.
Exactly. Once you understand the power of a good rationale, you'll start seeing it everywhere.
And you'll be able to write way more compelling reports yourself.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
Awesome. Thanks again for joining us.
My pleasure.
And to everyone listening out there, keep those questions coming.
Yeah, we love hearing from you.
Until next time, happy researching.
Bye.